Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Sorry about last night. I've had a headache for a minute now, and it just finally, I could not get it to go away. And then finally last night, I don't know, about 9 or 10 or something like that, it finally went away. But, um, hi, let me say hi to everybody. Let's see who all we got in here. Hold on a second. Hi, preschool granny. Hey, AJ. Hey, Allie. Hey, Dee. Hey, Shamita. Hey, Music City Mom. Hey, Shih Tzu Mom. Hey, B Crumbs. Hey, Mrs. MFO. Hello, Carol freaking Claus. How are you guys? Hi, Corky. Good to see everyone. I've missed you. Hey, Quinny. The name of the song is Gatekeeper, and it's Tori Wolf. Hey, Delaney. Good to see you. Pointer lover. Hello. Let's see. I don't want to miss anybody. Hi, Charlie. Hey, Savvy's aunt. Good to see you. Good to see all of you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Before we get started, let's have a word from our sponsor, shall we? Okay.
And Kai, when you're on Jen Lou's channel, what do you do with the like button?
Smash, smash, smash! Yeah.
Okay. Be like Kai. Smash, smash, smash that like button. Yeah. Hey, Dee. Hey, S. Daniel. Good to see you. Welcome in, you guys. Hey, Nana Banana. You guys get comfy, get your snacks. Pointer lover, you know what? You are right. That Excedrin migraine, and you know what else works really well too, is Advil migraine. Unfortunately, I didn't have any on hand, and so it wasn't really like a migraine. It was just this headache that would come, and then I would take a Tylenol, and it would kind of go away for a minute, and then it would come right back. So, but I'm better now. I think it was just from I've been working on some videos and stuff for this channel, for the other channel, and I've been staring at a computer screen, and I need to get some new glasses or maybe something to like with the blue, to fix it or whatever, so I don't, hey, Maggie and me. Hey, K-Brace, who knows? I'm just getting old is what it is, and I just need to, okay, now, Delaney, I know about the Vicks on your feet, and then you put socks on and you go to bed. My Nana swore by it, but that one is a new one on me. Hey, Ash in the box. I had not heard about that. Oh boy, that's awful. I'll have to look into that. However, before we get started tonight on the true crime, if you are not subscribed over on my other channel, it's called A Dose of Reality with Jen Lou. It's the old, um, my very original YouTube account that I've had forever that was just Jen Lou with the Capri Sun drinking monkey. I just changed that. I need desperately to have a community tab so I can keep you guys informed. So if you're not subscribed over there, would you please consider giving me a sub, because I would love to have a community tab. And I tried to do the advanced settings on YouTube in the studio, but now they're saying something is wrong with the video that I sent. Who knows? So I decided I'm not going to be doing, and hey, you should have just gone to the game, Chris. I'm not going to be doing any of that rigmarole. I'll just wait. I'm halfway there. I've got 250 something subscribers now. I just need to get to 500 so I can have the community tab, because I've got some stuff that I want to share with you guys over there. Just real quickly, I found out a scoop on Stranger Things, season 5, that I want to talk to you guys about. So if you're fans of Stranger Things, and I kind of want to entertain, see what you guys think season 5 is going to have in store. Also, the Real Housewives of Atlanta premiered on Sunday, their newest season. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the Real Housewives of Orange County, and I would like to talk about Kim Zolciak and Kroy's divorce. The shade is real, y'all. It's getting very messy, and I want to be able to dish on all of that stuff. So, plus, I've got a I've got some shows that I've been watching, and I want to tell you guys about them and the documentaries and stuff, but I need to be able to have a community tab. So anyway, that is a huge long way around of saying give your girl a sub if you haven't already. Hey Lawn Nerd Amber, good to see you. Now, on to tonight's show. We got unfinished business with Taylor Schabusiness. Now, as I promised you guys, I said that I would look into this plea that she made, okay? Because it's a little confusing. And thank you, Delaney. And it's, hey, True Crime Crazy. Oh, True Crime Crazy. It is a whole train wreck. But I don't just cover any of the Real Housewives. It's just a good distraction. True crime is very heavy, and sometimes you just need something a little something to take your mind off of it. But I've got a ton of movies that I've want to talk to you guys about, all kinds of different stuff that's not true crime. And I know that we all have such a wide array of interests and stuff, and you know, I got to give it to Ali and Truth Teller because they're actually the ones that made me really want to do this channel. Because when I was over on Truth Teller's panel a month or so ago, and we were talking about Bigfoot and the Fae and all of those, she had no idea that I was interested in that kind of stuff. I had no idea she was. But see, when you start talking about that, then we find all kinds of stuff that we have in common, and that we can talk about that's not true crime, So I wanted to do that. I just wanted to do that, so we can all have a little break. Hey Jane Doe, good to see you. Hey Vanessa. Hey Search and Rescue Canine Mom. Good to see everybody in here. Mama Bear, hello. So, okay. Now, tonight we're going to be talking about Schabusiness, as I said. Okay, and I wanted to talk to you guys about this plea deal, or not plea deal, her plea, because it is a little complicated and each state does it differently. And I wanted to talk to you guys about what is upcoming for her trial, because it's going to be July, I think 24th is when opening statements are set to start. Jury selection begins July 21st. So that's just right around the corner. I mean, heck, this time last month I was talking to y'all about graduation, and now that's come and gone, and we're already almost through June. We don't have that many days left. What, 9 days? There's 30 days in June. So time flies. Anywho, so I went and I looked into what all is involved in this plea that Taylor made, which is not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. Okay. And Wisconsin does do it a little bit different. Okay. So what we are going to see is two trials, sort of. Okay. So the first trial will be, hey, Princess Megan Elsa. And this was a little confusing to me because they are only taking 3 days. And what I'm curious about then is if there's going to be, after the first trial, if then there will be a second one. Because the way that Wisconsin does it, okay, is unlike Letitia Stauch's trial, right? The burden of proof for her not guilty by reason of insanity or mental defect, or they word it a little different. Mental defect, I know for sure. I'll look it back up in just a second. But unlike Colorado, the burden of proof is solely on the defense. The state does not have to prove Taylor Schabusiness was sane at the time the crime was committed. The defense has to prove she was not. Okay. And what they do is they bifurcate the trial. And this is something that I found super interesting. Okay. So, first, they have the trial, and this is essentially straight guilt or innocence. Okay. And they only do this when there's two pleas. So there's one plea of not guilty and not guilty by reason of insanity. Okay. Unless she's changed it. But when I read it, this is how I understood it to be. And again, I am not an attorney, so we're all going to be learning on this one. Anyway, so first the jury is going to decide whether or not she committed the crime. Okay. If they acquit her of the crime, it stops right there. That's that. Okay. If they find her guilty of committing the crime, all right, meaning she is the person who did it, the next thing that happens is then we go into the mental health, insanity part of it. Okay. And there's no judgment until both are complete. All right. So then what? So then they're going to, that is when it is the defense's job to prove that she is. Let me tell you what they have to prove, because I pulled this up. Now, where I pulled this up from, I went straight to Wisconsin to understand this, because, and it is legalese, a lot of it, but I needed to understand exactly what the deal was. So hold on, let me tell you. Now, one thing that I will say that I found reassuring is this: should the jury decide that yes, indeed, she is she was insane, etc., at the time of the crime, okay, it does not necessarily, she will go to a mental health institution, all right, but what will not happen is it's not going to be like, oh, well, she's going to get evaluated, within a reasonable amount of time, and then all of the sudden, you know she will, hold on a minute, how did this happen? It isn't like that, like she'll get, like she'll have an opportunity to get out soon. No, if she were to be sentenced to life, that is what she will get. Okay. All right, hold on. Let me find this. What happened? How did I mess this up? All right, here we go. Let me just go right here. Okay. So this is according to the Wisconsin code, and I just want to read this to you guys, okay? Mental responsibility of the defendant. A person is not responsible for criminal conduct if at the time of such conduct, as a result of mental disease or defect, the person lacked substantial capacity either to appreciate the wrongfulness of his or her conduct or conform his or her conduct to the requirements of the law. That's number one. Number two is, as used in this chapter, the terms mental disease or defect do not include an abnormality manifested only by repeated criminal or otherwise antisocial conduct. So what they're saying is, being a criminal in and of itself does not lend itself to a credible mental disease or defect. Okay. Now, mental disease or defect excluding responsibility is an affirmative defense, which the defendant must establish to a reasonable certainty by the greater weight of credible evidence. But this is the part that I found interesting. And then there's a bunch of case laws. Okay. They're, not less than pretty much the same thing, that she's got to be evaluated. All of those things. and how long they have and who can do it and all that. But there is, okay. Trial of actions upon plea of not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. 1. If a defendant couples a plea of not guilty with a plea of not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect, A, there shall be a separation of the issues with sequential order of proof in a continuous trial. The plea of not guilty shall be determined first, and the plea of not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect shall be determined second. B, if the plea of not guilty is tried to a jury, the jury shall be informed of the two pleas and that a verdict will be taken upon the plea of not guilty before the introduction of evidence on the plea of not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect. No verdict on the first plea may be valid or received unless agreed to by all jurors. If both pleas are tried to a jury, that jury shall be the same, except that 1, if one or more juries who participated in determining the first plea become unable to serve, the remaining jurors shall determine the second plea. So basically, the 12 jurors that get on there, then I guess what that means, sounds to me, what it means like is, that's not even proper English. I'm sorry, you guys. That's not good grammar at all. What it sounds to me like is the 12 jurors that deliberate. And should 2 of those jurors become, for whatever reason, unable to deliberate, they don't bring in the alternates, and 10 jurors then continue the deliberation. Okay. If the jury is discharged prior to reaching a verdict on the second plea, the defendant shall not solely on that account be entitled to a redetermination of the first plea, and a different jury may be selected to determine the second plea only. So if the jury reaches a verdict on the first, which would be the guilt or the acquittal, guilty or not guilty, and then they cannot reach an agreement on the whether or not they are not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect, they don't get a whole new trial. They'll just bring in a jury to hear the second part of it. Okay. All right. So this is the part that I wanted to really, this is about not guilty, and we're not to that point yet. Okay. So commitment of persons found not guilty by reason of mental disease or mental defect. Commitment period. Okay, so this felony was committed on or after July 30th, 2002. So except as provided in paragraph C, when a defendant is found not guilty by reason of mental disease or mental defect of a felony committed on or after July 30th, 2002, the court shall commit the person to the Department of Health Services for a specific period, not exceeding the maximum term of confinement in prison that could be imposed on an offender convicted of the same felony, plus imprisonment authorized by an applicable penalty enhancement statute subject to the credit provisions. Okay, so there you go. She can't just, but there is another part that I wanted to read, and now I can't find it. It was pertaining to the voluntary taking of illicit substances, because I found that to be incredibly interesting, given the fact that she did take drugs. So what I'm assuming then, by understanding this, is that the deal is she has to be found mentally, she has to have a mental disease or defect that has nothing to do with the impairment she would have had taking the drugs, taking the methamphetamines. Derpy kitty, hey. I went over Court TV. Wow, Deb and PA, thank you so much. That is huge. So that I thought was interesting, about that, the how the trial is going to go, because I had a feeling that we're going to be, if I didn't look this up and it happened during the trial, I would be quite confused and not understanding. So I'm glad that I looked this up, um, ahead of time, and that way I can give you guys the heads up. So the other thing that I wanted to do tonight was, hey, Crime Curious, hey, Derby Kitty, and I don't know anybody else that let's see, Corey, Candace. I think I've said hi to everybody. Sorry, when I'm reading, I'm looking at the phone, and yeah, I don't think that she can use that, Delaney. I think it's got to be, which this is what I feel like is going to be interesting. Okay, that you bring that up, 'cause I don't know if I can highlight that. How sometime of the YouTubes be. All right. Like I already got limited ads and didn't say a single word. So that's not Schabusiness. So I'm curious about that too, because it's, for me, I wonder if it is, which came first, the chicken or the egg situation. Did her chronic use of methamphetamine cause her to have a, a mental health issue, right? Or did she already have some type of mental health issue and was using the methamphetamine to self medicate? Because that does happen. Do you know what I mean? So I'm super curious about that. Well, it can't be used for insanity, Delaney. They can't say that. I am just floored, Deb and PA, that you chose me over Vinny. And hi, Diane Marie. I don't know a proper way to thank you. And to be, but I'm curious about that. I am very, very curious about that, Corey, how they're going to proceed with this and what they're going to present. And the fact of the matter is, what I mean by self medicate is not understanding or really knowing that you have a mental health issue, and you just know, and sometimes undiagnosed mental health issues cause people to turn to illicit drugs. It happens. Or going off, knowing that you have a mental health issue, like being bipolar or any other, or being schizophrenic, and just not taking your medication, and it puts you in a different headspace, and you decide to try an illicit drug, and then before you know it, you're hooked, and then all of those things. So I'm kind of curious, and that's another thing, Mrs. MFO. That's another good point too, that addiction itself, is a mental health issue. And so I'm very curious about how all of this is gonna play out. So now this is what I want us to watch tonight. This is just a quickie. I think maybe 20 minutes or something like that, like the other ones. This is going to be from her preliminary hearing. And this is the witness that Taylor Schabusiness's defense team put up for her. And this is a doctor who has testified in his home state of Illinois, and now he's been proffered as a expert witness. But he is going to be testifying about the drugs that Taylor was on. And let me find. I sent it to myself, but for some reason now I can't even find oh, here I am. I couldn't even find my own chat. This is what I frequently do. And I would suggest to you guys, if you have a lot of stuff, like I have a ton of memes and stuff like that, um, and you run out of storage on your phone or whatever, just send it to um, what the frack? Send it to your messenger. Send it to yourself in Messenger, and then you can. That was weird. Did I just go away for a second? Can you guys still hear me? Hey, Modine. Okay, it looks like I'm good. I don't know what happened there for a sec. All right, hold on. Let me scroll down here and find this that I wanted to find. So, bruh. Come on, Court TV. Don't be doing me dirty. Let me just search. Oh. Anyway. Oh, you're absolutely right. I'm so curious how they're going to, how this is going to go down, honestly. I really am. I really want to know. I just had it the other day. Where is this? Bruh. Oh, I wanted to tell you guys, and while we're waiting, while I'm looking for this, a grand jury has been impaneled in the in the murder of Stephen Smith. I was watching Court TV today, and I happened upon that. And Stephen, the attorney for Stephen Smith's family, Eric Bland, was on Court TV, and he was talking about it. And this is really, exciting news, because there's like 5 people that are going to be testifying, which I think is very interesting. I'm super curious what the grand jury is going to end up finding. I'm even more curious about who is testifying with in front of the grand jury. Of course, these things are all kept on the hush hush, but I'm want to know. Here it is right here. Okay. So that's exciting news, and it's a long time coming. And I do want to say that one of the things that uh, Mr. Bland talked about on Court TV is where this where these witnesses may have come from, and the interviewers asked him, did it come from the Smith family's independent uh, investigation into the case? And Mr. Bland said that he doesn't know who's testifying, so therefore he couldn't be 100% sure, but that there were quite a few persons of interest and names and witnesses, etc., of people that might have had direct knowledge of. Hey, Tony. Oh, you're not late. We're just now getting started, really getting started. Anyway, who would have had some knowledge that came from the South Carolina Highway Patrol, and then SLED when they took over the investigation. So this is really good news. I am super curious about that. Also, I believe, I am like 97% sure, and I will confirm, that the civil trial in for Mallory Beach is going to be streamed, and I would like to know how many of you guys would be interested in watching that trial, because if you are, I will make arrangements to stream it, of course, to stream and to have a like stream until lunch, like I did before with Murdoch. If you guys want me to, I will absolutely do that. Okay, so I've added this to the stream. Here we go.
Citing a lack of evidence. One of the witnesses who testified was Dr. James O'Donnell. Let's take a listen.
You were hired by the defense to...
Okay, but before we take a listen to this, I got to let Nestor out. So I will be in chat, but I'm just going to let this play because this is, it's only like 10 minutes, so it's not that long. Okay, here we go. Well, I can't even see the play button. There
to assist in this particular case, correct?
Yes, sir.
State versus Taylor, Denise Schabusiness, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And what were you asked to do?
I was asked to review the psychiatric and medical history of the defendant, review the jail medical records, police reports. I viewed the video interrogation. I looked at the reports of various psychologists and neuropsychologists who did assessments on Taylor. And the purpose of that is to evaluate the psychiatric history, the drug history, both therapeutic and recreational, to determine the acuity, the chronicity, the toxicity, both acute and chronic, and any effects or contribution or exacerbations of that recreational drug use, i.e. particularly methotrexate and marijuana, on any exacerbation of her underlying psychiatric illnesses, to determine what effects that would have on her, and whether or not she would be intoxicated and impaired, and what effects it would have on her ability to recall accurately prior events.
Did you evaluate the effects of methamphetamine or other drugs on Taylor Denise Schabusiness?
I did.
In combination with her psychiatric disorders?
Yes.
Did you assess or form some opinions on consequences of waiving Miranda rights and ability to consent and issues like that?
I did in the setting of what effects her recreational drug use would have on her ability to form and provide consent and waive Miranda.
Did you review autopsy and toxicology reports?
I did to determine what drugs were detected. I measured the amounts, and I'm prepared to give opinions as to the state of intoxication or impairment of Shad Turon at the time of his death.
Did you review any literature in this matter?
I did, particularly on one of the drugs that was discussed in the police reports, the trazodone. I also refreshed my fluency on methamphetamine. Didn't have to do much because I do a lot of work with methamphetamine. But beyond that, particularly methamphetamine and the effects of methamphetamine, chronic toxicity and acute toxicity, as well as marijuana on the ability to form memory and accurately recall stored memory.
You did review various police reports in this case, correct?
I did, yes, sir.
At least from your point of view, from your perspective, do you have an understanding of what may have happened between the time period of February 20th of 2022 and February 22nd of 2022?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and tell me what your understanding would be.
Well, my understanding is that Taylor met with Shad. There was drug use, methamphetamine use. Shad was smoking methamphetamine. Taylor was using intravenous methamphetamine, which was her usual method of administration, but that evening, she also smoked methamphetamine. There was a reference to Shad being injected with trazodone. May or may not have been a reference to Taylor injecting herself with trazodone. There was an alleged asphyxiation. Shad died. There's an alleged dismemberment. Approximately a day later, Shad's dismembered body was discovered in his mother's basement. And shortly thereafter, several hours after that, police found Taylor, detained and arrested Taylor, and subsequently interrogated her, questioned her, and she was detained to the Brown County Jail.
Let me ask you this. Was it your understanding that law enforcement had done some testing from either a tote or a bucket as far as the substance is concerned?
Well, the medical examiner, the only source of blood, since the blood was, if anything, spilled on the floor or collected in a bucket, so the source of sample blood, blood that was sampled for the toxicology, was taken from blood that was collected in the bucket where the head was placed. That was used for the toxicology testing.
If blood is tested from a bucket or a tote or something like that, does that impact testing at all versus taking it maybe from the body directly?
It doesn't impact the testing, but the interpretation of the levels, it can't be precise because there may be dilution of the blood with other body fluids, which would decrease the concentrations of blood in the blood sample that's measured. So it's not an accurate measurement, but relatively we draw a conclusion as to the predominant drugs present by the relative numbers that are reported.
Let's welcome our guest for this hour, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Eric Fadas. You know, this to me is a message of kids. This is why you don't do drugs, because the fact scenario as alleged is pretty horrific. But Eric, speak to the fact that this hearing is about whether or not evidence is going to come in and talking about her psychiatric disorders in conjunction with the drug use. How might this affect trial that's scheduled for July?
Yeah, Ashley and Michael, this is a complete nightmare. Are you kidding me? I got chills just listening to the description of the case. And so, yeah, this motions hearing is pretty pivotal, I think. It looks like the defense is arguing that the statement that the defendant gave was potentially not voluntary because the defendant either had some mental health issues going on and or the intoxication of the drugs made it such that she could not validly waive her rights. And I think it's really important because that statement is so critical to the case. She
says none of those statements could come
in. That confession, like you said,
ability doctrine. Tonight on Closing Arguments, a Wisconsin woman accused of killing a man sexually. Defendant Taylor
for approximately 2 hours and 20 minutes at the Brown County Jail.
Did she admit to using drugs up to and during the alleged incident?
Yes, I took a thorough history of her drug use, both chronically and up to the incident. So yes, and she did admit to using principally methamphetamine practically daily, if not daily, by the intravenous route. and smoking marijuana daily for approximately 10 years, with the exception of when she was pregnant, when she discovered she was pregnant.
If a person uses methamphetamine venously through an IV, is that more dangerous than maybe smoking it or other uses?
It is. It's more acute. It's more highly addicting. In fact, there's literature that describes IV methamphetamine use as creating addiction as high as 40% of subjects who first use methamphetamine. That is not to say that smoking it is not dangerous as well, but you can have more acute cardiac events and cerebral events or strokes from IV administration. You can get an immediate ventricular fibrillation from it. The other acute toxicities, the euphoric toxicities,
I got a problem with the blaming of the mota, i.e. the ganja, i.e. the Mary Jane. I mean, I would imagine that after injecting not just methamphetamine, but also trazodone, which y'all, I have never in all my live long life heard anybody doing that, but evidently they do, or she did, or does, whatever. I know I'm sorry, Jenny. I just want to get, because this gives us a glimpse into what is going to be upcoming in the trial. And he is a little bit hard to listen to, and I don't think it's too terribly long, but I took a little break from him because we kind of needed it. But I honestly don't understand at that point, after you've injected meth and trazodone, what mota is going to do for you, negatively or positively, to be quite honest. I don't, I don't get it. This is all just, ugh. All right. We don't have that much more of this video, I don't think. Let me see. Yeah.
neurotransmitter toxicities would be approximately equal from either intravenous or smoking. Smoking any drug, we know from smoking cigarettes, it's a rapid form of administration. You almost immediately can detect and feel, and therefore there's an immediate effect on the brain and the body from smoking any substance.
Did Ms. Schabusiness tell you about her drug use history and how that impacted her life?
Yes, she had used methamphetamine intravenously, even initially intravenously, for approximately 2 years from the time when her husband was released from prison. She stopped when she was advised she was pregnant. She resumed after pregnancy, after she returned to Wisconsin from.
Okay, so let me read this question. If there was really only blood in the bucket from his head and there was blood on the floor, where was it? What in the world did she do with it? I have to admit, True Crime Crazy, this is a part of this case that I am not 100% sure on. And I think this is going to be something that we are unfortunately going to have to wait for the trial to understand, because to me, it would seem like, no blood on the floor. Okay. It would seem to me like that area in the basement would be covered. However, if she did all of the things that she did on the bed, then the mattress probably would have soaked up quite a bit of the blood. I didn't think about that. And also, the other thing that I was thinking about too is I'm very curious. Maybe she, I don't know. I'm going to have to look into that, Adrian, because I wanted to get to the criminal complaint. I don't know if we'll get there tonight. Maybe we will. Maybe we, but because I also want to cover that sleeping father murder trial too, because the criminal complaint doesn't always tell all of the things. But I would imagine that she probably cleaned up some of it, but she also, when she was talking to the police, she made mention of forgetting to do some. I actually think that she forgot to grab the head, I think is what she said. And forgive me, there's no delicate way for me to put that because that's her words, not me. But yeah. I don't think that she did any type of real cleanup. I mean, there were parts in a crock pot box. There were parts in a bucket. His head was in a bucket. There was a leg and a foot in her van. I mean, yeah. But the thing about the trazodone that I find interesting is was it prescribed to her? And if so, who was prescribing it? Was she seeing a regular, general practitioner, or was she seeing a psychiatrist? I'm very curious about all of this. I do think that Taylor Schabusiness does suffer from some sort of mental health situation issue, right? But do I think that it rises to the level of so severe that she did not know right from wrong and could not conduct herself according to the law? No, I don't think that at all.
Texas, and as she told me that it was almost every day using IV methamphetamine, and in terms of marijuana or THC, almost daily from approximately when she was 14 years old, with the exception of when she knew she was pregnant.
Did she describe the effects that the methamphetamine had on her life as far as employment or other issues?
Well, in terms of employment consequences, life consequences, she had been steadily employed at the Saputo cheese factory for about 3 years, up until, including up through the time when she started using methamphetamine, and rapidly lost her job because she stopped going to work. And so they let her go during that period. She had tried other jobs through temp agencies and never really got anywhere with them because of her drug use, because she wasn't going to work. Her life was controlled by methamphetamine use. So there are those consequences during that time. In contrast to before methamphetamine, she was arrested for two incidents involving violence and aggressive actions, whereas she had no history before methamphetamine.
Oh, I didn't mean to mute it. I just meant to pause it.
With methamphetamine.
So I would imagine that she would have to do something in order to make it injectable, because I've never heard of it come that way. But I'm just, I'm not sure. That's probably Derby Kitty. Yeah, I think that's likely what she would do. As and now Corky has said. So yeah, that's what I think. But yeah, all right, let's keep going. I don't know why I can't turn this down. It feels like it's too loud for me, but I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna put it right there.
Use. And she didn't like it at first. She used it because her husband liked it and wanted her to. She became addicted to it. That was, I would say, controlling her life, which is what most addictive substances do.
All right. So that is that testimony. And now, if you will indulge me, I would like to read to you what the conclusions of all of this. Oh, wait, this is the wrong one. Hold on. Hold on a second. Bruh, I just had it. Hey, while we wait, anybody that are any of you guys in the area of all of these crazy ass storms that have been going on? Lord, these storms have been crazy. All right, I found it. So this article was updated on June 14th, 2023. So this is after the hearing, okay? So here we go. A Brown County judge on Tuesday denied several motions to suppress evidence collected from Taylor Schabusiness in the February 2022 slaying of Shad Therian of Green Bay. Attorneys and the judge in the murder decapitation case cleared up a number of issues as they move closer to a trial date later this summer. Schabusiness, 25, Therian's former girlfriend, is charged with first-degree intentional homicide, third-degree SA, and mutilating a corpse in the killing. The case is slated to go to trial July 24th through 28th at the Brown County Courthouse. The jury is to be selected July 21st. Brown County Circuit Court Judge Thomas Walsh had 13 motions to decide. Most were filed by attorney Christopher T. Froelich, representing Schabusiness of Green Bay. But there were also motions from Assistant Brown County District Attorney Caleb Saunders. Saunders said in a letter to Walsh that the prosecution plans to call 6 witnesses, all Green Bay police officers, at trial. Several testified in Tuesday's motion hearing. David Graff, a detective for the past 16 of his nearly 30 years with Green Bay Police, testified about how police collected DNA from Schabusiness the morning after the killing by sweeping her cheek with a buccal swab after being granted her permission to do so. Walsh declined to suppress the DNA evidence. Also testifying Tuesday, Green Bay detectives Phil Scanlon, Kevin Kemp, and Craig Pakala, Lieutenant Jenna Lubertha, and Officer Garth Russell. The group all described how Schabusiness was generally cooperative with police during questioning at headquarters. Under questioning from defense attorney Froelich, detectives insisted Schabusiness willingly answered questions about the killing and what she and Therian had done the night before the slaying and the decapitation in the basement of his mother's house on Green Bay's west side. Froelich had asked Walsh to suppress statements Schabusiness made to police, claiming some statements were made to a Green Bay officer before police had read Schabusiness a Miranda warning that she did not have to answer questions from police. in asking the judge to not allow such evidence to be used in the trial. I wonder if it's Freilich. Freilich said she did not waive her rights, quote, knowingly, intelligently, and voluntarily. In cross-examination of Detective Phil Scanlon, Freilich asked if he had detected signs of DRUG use, such as the smell of Mary Jane smoke or the odor of methamphetamine, or if she smiled inappropriately or otherwise behaved oddly during questioning. Quote, I do recall moments where she didn't seem happy, Scanlon said in discussing a February 28, 22 interview he did with her, but I didn't observe signs of withdrawal. Also testifying Tuesday, Green Bay detectives Kevin Kempf and Craig Pakala, Lieutenant Jenna Luberda, and Officer Garth Russell. Why did they repeat this? Under questioning from Freilich, detectives insisted Schabusiness willingly answered questions about the unaliving and what she and Therian had done that night before the slaying and the decapitation. Okay, that's a repeat. Walsh denied the request to suppress the statements given to police. Freilich continued to challenge the search police conducted on a one-bedroom ground floor Eastman Avenue apartment where Schabusiness was living. He also said the court should suppress evidence seized from a Chrysler Town and Country minivan Schabusiness had been driving the night Therian was killed. The van was registered to another man who also lived in the apartment. Walsh declined the suppression request. Saunders said police obtained a warrant that granted them permission to search the apartment. They said they got verbal permission to search the minivan. And this is the defense. This is the guy that was just testifying. Let's see. We already heard that. Walsh did not rule on whether Freilich could have O'Donnell testify at Schabusiness's trial as an expert witness. Freilich has challenged 72 photos the prosecution said it may use in trial. They were taken the night Shad was unalive. Walsh had attorneys review the photos frame by frame Thursday. The judge said most could be used at trial, but said some would shock jurors, and the shock value would outweigh the probative value of what was shown. Walsh ruled that the prosecution should not use a photograph of a black bucket pictured in the house's basement. Freilich said the photo was, quote, so horrifying. Walsh agreed. Police initially reported that officers found Shad's head in a plastic bucket. Walsh ruled against a request for another psychological evaluation. Walsh said Tuesday that a psychologist working for the prosecution and another representing her defense both evaluated Schabusiness in the spring of 2022. The doctor for the prosecution said she was fit to stand trial. The defense's doctor said she could not reach a conclusion. Freilich last month asked Walsh to order another evaluation to determine if Schabusiness is competent to stand trial. A 2022 evaluation by psychologist Matthew Seipel found she was capable of aiding in her defense and was read into the court record November 18th. Her attorney said that evaluation is, quote, is no longer current. Freilich replaced Schabusiness's previous attorney, Quinn Jolly, who withdrew from the case February 15th after Schabusiness attacked him in court during a February 14th hearing. So, also, the judge ruled that he was not going to suppress her confession, or her statement, I should say, her interview, that it would be played. And the judge reviewed, it is a 7-hour interrogation video, and he watched it all and said that it's coming in. So that is what's going on here in that trial. That's what's, so now we just wait. She's going to have a she's going to, they're going to get a jury together. They're going to do all the questioning. And then, there was another thing that the defense wanted. They asked that Shad not be referred to as the victim, saying that it was prejudicial for him to be referred to that way. And the judge said, no, that is part of the vernacular used in court. It's not prejudicial. That won't be happening. They can use that word. If it becomes out of hand, then I'll deal with it then, is what he said. Then they also asked for the essay to be dropped, right? Because under their argument was, and this is their argument, please understand this, and not Jen Lu's argument, that the fact that under that statute, because he was no longer living at the time of this assault, then he is no longer considered a person. At that point, he becomes essentially a corpse, which is why there are the other charges, the mutilation, etc. And the judge said, no. They also, I just bit my own tongue. See, I don't even like saying that. The defense also said that, to be frank, the only evidence of that occurring after his death was statements that Schabusiness gave. There wasn't any corroborating physical evidence, and the fact that she removed that part of his body would also make it impossible for her to then essay him. But the judge said, nope, I'm not dropping those charges. There's plenty enough evidence of it, and those are coming in. So that is where the that's where everything remains the same. Like I said, or like that article said, there's going to be some photographs that are not going to come in because they're just too much. But yeah, I will say, Pointer Lover, that I find that it's a very interesting legal argument as far as the law goes. At what point does a human being go from being considered a person under the definition of the law to being a corpse? Do you know what I mean? Because what if, because the truth of the matter is, the way that this played out, trigger warning, trigger warning, trigger warning, and earmuff warning if you have littles. Please, please, please get them out of the room, put earbuds in, do what you have to do. I'm going to keep talking in order to give you guys enough time to do all of that, because there's a 20-second delay between what I'm saying now and when you guys hear it. And that's just a StreamYard thing that has nothing to do with me. But that's a good point. Also, True Crime Crazy. But apparently that is not and the thing about that is that toy was taken for DNA testing and came back inconclusive. So there's that. See, I think so too, serendipity, but here's the deal. This is an interesting interpretation of the law, and it's a legal argument, not a moral argument, because look, nothing that woman did that day was good at all in any way, shape, or form. But the argument is, at what point does it become an essay on a human versus on a corpse under the law? And but when you listen to the details of what happened, which is that she was engaged in coitus, consensual coitus at that point, right? And when she had the chain around his neck, right? So she's she's continuing to do it as she is unaliving him, right? So I don't, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes moving forward. Because I'm curious about that. Granted, the truth of the matter is, on the most serious charge, I think that there is plenty of evidence not only to find her guilty, but I think that there is also plenty of evidence that while she had some type, and this is Wisconsin's terms, mental disease or defect, right? There's evidence of that. But I don't think that it was such a substantial impairment that she did not know what she was doing that day, that she was not in control of all of her faculties. And so therefore, but I do think that she should have to answer for every single thing that she did. And I think that keeping it the way that it is allows for that. However, should she be found guilty on all of the counts and decide to appeal, will her appeal be successful on the SA charge because of the language of the law and the interpretation of the law? And that's what I'm curious about that. No, Tiffany, I haven't. I think it matters only in the interpretation of the law. And should she be convicted, would she be successful mounting an appeal in that the interpretation of the law was incorrect? That's all that I'm curious about. Because I don't think it is a gender situation. I think it is a legal argument about when does a person under the legal definition, under the statute, go from being a person to being a corpse. And so that's, yeah. I will look into that. Absolutely, Tiffany. So, because it sounds like some shenanigans that would occur in the Florida's alley. However, I got to tell y'all, over these last couple of years, and it really started with Chandler Hazeldazzle Halderson, and it's only increased since then. It seems like Wisconsin is trying to give Florida a run in the crazy department for reals. Like, I think they're trying to go get rid of Florida man, right? And go get into the Wisconsin man, because it's thrown off. Completely thrown off these people in Wisconsin, the shenanigans that they're pulling, men and women, for Pete's sake. Idaho too. Look, I think the whole world has gone freaking bananas. I don't know what has happened. I mean, it's not like crime is not new, obviously, and unliving is also not new. But I mean, Delaney, there might be something to that. Watts is in Wisconsin. And what if his particular brand of evil just tainted the whole state? I feel like there is a Stephen King book about a person just contaminating an entire area, not actually by just being there. Do you know what I mean? I'm curious about that. I feel like there is a book, and now it's going to bother me. And after I get off of here, I'm going to look it up, because I do feel like there is a book about that. that there is a story that Stephen King, and it might be, I think that it might be in the Nightmares and Dreamscapes, the one that's a bunch of short stories. By the way, if y'all have not read that book, it's actually very, very good. It's a very, very, all of Stephen King's books are good, but that one's good too. You know what? It's like Castle Rock. Remember on Hulu, Castle Rock, Bill Skarsgård played in it, and he didn't even have a name. He was just the stranger. Remember? And after he was, yeah, I'm not that's it. That's it. I'm not into y'all should check that out too. See, that's the other thing I wanted to do on the other channel is like I have so many I have lots of shows that I watch, and I have to admit I have to binge them because and right now there's like a tiny little window from trials, and so I've had a minute to binge some stuff, and I really want to talk to you guys about that, but I don't want to do it on this channel because you know, especially like right now, people are going to become, if there's anybody watching on the replay, you know, they come to hear about Schabusiness, and I'm talking about like shows. You know what I mean? I don't want to do that to people. So, I don't think you're all like, no, I do not. But, Pepper, I don't. And hey, by the way, I do think that there is something going on in the world within the last probably like 10 years maybe, where things just have escalated to such a point where it's just beyond comprehension for me. Like today, and if you guys missed this, Allie, I know you're listening and I know you're not feeling well, but if you could just please do me a favor. Oh, I can do it. Let me put Allie's I got the Nightbot. I forgot about that. If you guys missed it today, Allie and I went over the newly unsealed probable cause affidavit, arrest affidavit in for Adam Montgomery in the Harmony Montgomery case, and it's quite detailed. It's not everything, right? Because and that is one thing that they made very, very, the officer who wrote the probable cause affidavit made it clear. This isn't all we have. This is just basically the highlight reel. This is the important stuff. This is the things we feel that are enough to get us, you know, to go past probable cause and get us the warrant. Okay. But we were reading that off. And I think that the takeaway for me from that whole scenario is Kayla was much more involved than I initially realized. And I was watching after after that live that I did with Adrian, I dropped Allie's link in the chat under Nightbot. It's you can just go, it's right there. But I watched the I watched the thing on Court TV about it, and I never can. She's a newer correspondent, and I can never remember her name, and I don't even remember her guest name. To be quite frank with you guys, I was listening, but I was really still processing everything that Allie read out today. And anyway, I was listening, and the first thing out of both these women's mouths were, they cannot believe if that Kayla isn't facing charges, and if she isn't, she should be, just exactly like we said. So, oh no, you're fine, babe. You're fine, Adrian. I mean, yeah, it's yeah, if you're not subbed over there, definitely subscribe to Allie. She does fantastic work, and I just adore Allie. Period. The end. And don't ever be sorry for asking questions, ever. I love it. I am so shocked, and I am, people, it's going to take people a minute. Do you know what I mean? It was just unsealed. Um, we're all of the, most of the people that cover true crime, are talking about it, but talking about it and processing it are two different things. Like, I'm still processing it, after I got off the live and was listening to Court TV. And then, I was doing stuff around the house and all the, just life, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, you don't need to hear all the boring details, but there would be times when I would think about something that was in that affidavit. And so I think it's going to be very interesting in the coming days, how the public is going to react to what has just been unsealed. And granted, the defense and the prosecution have known about this since that arrest affidavit was filed back in October, okay, of 2022. Yeah. But everything else, it's just, she, exactly, Pointer Lover, exactly. She is just as evil as Adam, in my opinion, and I do not understand how. Okay, okay, so here's what happened with her, all right? As far as the scenario goes with the timing of everything, okay? So when they charged Adam Montgomery with the weapons, the theft of the weapons, and there were, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 charges he was facing with regard to stealing those guns and then selling them, okay? They charged Kayla the exact same way. She got every single charge that Adam got. So she met with her attorney, okay? And her attorney and Kayla went over and spoke with the DA, with prosecution, okay? And she gave what's called a proffer, but she walked into that interview to give a statement with no guarantee of anything, okay? So when all of that was said and done, what they ended up doing was dropping the charges related to the weapons, okay, and instead charging her with perjury because she lied in front of the grand jury. When she was questioned by the grand jury, she testified that on the day that Harmony was unalived, that she went to work. Adam took her to work at Dunkin' Donuts, and that was a whole lie. She'd been fired at Dunkin' Donuts prior to that. It was just a lie. She lied in front of the grand jury, which means she committed perjury, and that's what they charged her with. But they did not charge her with anything that I know of at this point related to the murder of Harmony, and that I don't understand, because I don't, well, serendipity, they kept it sealed. It wasn't for her, it was for Adam. His defense attorney requested that it be sealed until, because that information being out in the public prior to the weapons trial would, they felt, taint the jury pool. And so they didn't want anybody knowing that information. They wanted him to have his weapons trial, right? So that's what they did. They gave him the weapons trial, and then Now they have that he's been found guilty. He'll be sentenced in August. And then his trial for the murder of Harmony is in November. So I just absolutely cannot figure out how she hasn't gotten any charges. I just can't. And I don't know that I feel like, you guys, if she had charges, we would know about it because that's public record. And I just can't, it just absolutely boggles my mind. And I honestly, the thing of it is that she walked in there with no guarantee, right? So she was going to tell them what the deal was regardless. So what I cannot understand is, at the very, very minimum, right? She is definitely guilty of the lesser included charges that Adam has been charged with related to the moving and concealing and all of that of Harmony's body. So what I don't understand is why she doesn't have the perjury charge and something related to that, because I think she should at the very least. At the very least. And I was when Allie and I were talking today, there was a comment in the chat about why the weapons trial came before the murder trial. And I will put it to you like this. I think, this is just my opinion, I think that it came out first because if Adams, this gives the prosecution and Adam him, maybe this gives Adam some incentive, right, to tell them what he did with Harmony's body and take a plea and let that little baby be found and let her be put to rest like she deserves. But I just do not think that Adam is going to do that. Exactly, Delaney. Exactly. Well, Adrian, that's what we cannot figure out. See, the deal is we don't know what we're going to have to wait. Now, I will tell you this. If she got some type of deal, if she were given immunity, okay, for testifying, and here's where it gets a little tricky, because when she testified in the weapons trial, it was made very clear from the judge to both parties, right, to the state and to the defense, that that trial was about the weapons charges, the end, nothing else. Okay. So when Kayla got up on the stand and was testifying, we saw how Adam's defense attorney questioned her, bootleg Elaine. I cannot. I promise you guys, I'll know her name. I just keep calling her Elaine, bootleg Elaine. So she couldn't question her on that. Okay, but we did watch. This is the thing that is surprising to me. When she took the plea deal on on the perjury charges, we watched that happen. It's on Law and Crime. And it was only about the perjury. So I don't know if when Adam goes to trial, and Kayla is going to testify. So if when Kayla testifies and whether it's going to be brought up by the state or whether it's going to be brought up by the defense, but either way, if there was a deal, we will find out about it at trial because one of the two is going to bring it up. So I'm very curious how that's all going to go. But anyway, maybe we'll do a little more Allie and I, yes, Delaney, that's what I said. Were you in Allie's today? Because I need you to get out of my brain, Delaney. There is not room in there for both of us. It's very cluttered and messy up there, Delaney. You don't want to be up there too long. But that's what I said. It reminded me of Carla Homolka, that they needed Carla's testimony, and they basically gave her a deal, right? And then those tapes were located, the videotapes were located, and it was too late. And people were outraged. And I think people are going to be outraged too. And the other thing that Allie and I talked about is we're going to do a timeline, because when we were reading the a probable cause, it's a little, they were going back and forth between what happened in 2022, 2021, and 2019, and it wasn't like all the way that the probable cause read wasn't completely in chronological order. It was kind of back and forth, which I can normally keep up with, but I'm used to like keeping up with it in like a show, and then all of the sudden there will be a change in music, or there'll be some type of fog, or if you're watching Wayne's World, they used to do that, something like that, but they didn't do that in the probable cause, so it was a little confusing. So Allie and I are going to lay it out. I'm just curious, very, very curious. So Allie and I are going to work on that also. It's on our to-do list. But I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to all of you chatters for watching, for chatting and engaging, and just, you guys are all so cool. And I just really love talking about true crime with you guys. And I can't wait to talk about all the other, stuff that we're all into on the other channels. So I'm going to let you guys go for tonight, but I'll be back tomorrow. And tomorrow night, we're going to start going over the sleeping father trial that just wrapped up, and all of that. Oh, the new rug. Okay, I got to tell you guys this. I like the rug. Okay, I like the way the rug looks, but I was unprepared for the texture of the rug. It's almost kind of, it didn't look like this in the picture. It looks sort of, I don't know, just like a plush rug. It's kind of like it's got like a silk to it. I don't know. I'm still getting used to it. But I like the way it looks. So, I don't know. Anyway. Good night, you guys, and I will see you guys tomorrow night, and we're going to talk about this sleeping father trial that just finished. We're just going to do the highlights because I want you guys to hear some of the testimony that came from the accused's brothers, because holy guacamole, that was messed up. There's some definite family. Yes, and yes, Delaney, absolutely. Let's all say a prayer for the people in that. I don't think it's a submarine. I think it's called something else, but that wanted to tour, and it was supposed to be right over the Titanic. And let's hope that they're found and rescued and everything. All right. Good night, you guys. Stay safe out in these YouTube streets and in the real ones, because it'd be crazy as hell out there. Good night, you guys. Bye.